IEA, the International Energy Agency, has said that although we know some of the answers, about 50% of the emission reductions that we're going to need to get to net zero rely on technologies which have not yet become commercialized, and some of them yet not even invented. So we're going to have to almost be involved in a two-tier race. On the one hand, we have to mitigate, reduce our emissions. At the same time, we have to create policies which incentivize the development of new technologies. When we think about climate tech policy, there are really just two ways to go about it. On the one hand, we can have what you could call as a technology push, create the kind of conditions and circumstances and incentives which will push entrepreneurs, scientists, companies to develop those technologies which will be so important in our energy and in our economic transition. But at the same time, there are lots of policies which you could call demand and pull. By creating demand for low carbon technologies, we can in effect also create the same incentives to make things happen. But then we go into the question, well, who is funding climate tech? Typically, universities, and here we are at one of the finest, are involved in the early stages, and then industries and VCs later. So the government involvement really is only in these early phases. The manifestations of climate change have become so severe. If you live in Miami and so many months of the year, basically the town is partly underwater, and here we are cooking in California. You know, are you in Death Valley or in LA? It's hard to tell the difference, you know, those kind of things. So those kind of situations might make the public accept it, because we know that when we look at sort of the heuristics and biases and people's largely irrational perspective on many issues, they don't always get things that are far away. We're not very good at multi-generational justice issues. We like to talk about it, but in fact, really getting nervous about something that's 70, 80 years away, somebody else will figure it out. And that has to change.